So this is Tuesday, the second day of DesignCon. It's going to be a nutty day for us. We're going to spend the next 3 hours live streaming a series of 15-minute interviews to you. So stay with us for all 3 hours if you want to kill your productivity today. If you want to jump in and out, feel free to do that. I've also got it posted on my Facebook page, so you can look at it there as well. And that'll be fun too. So anyway, I'll intersperse some information about what's going on at the show today, but I want to get to our first guest, who has been brave and kind enough to show up at 9 o'clock in the morning. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So you're with Element 14, which I was away from E-Times for about 3 years, a little frustrated that the industry wasn't moving fast enough into social media, open source platform kind of creativity. Come back, lo and behold, here's Element 14. Wow, seem to have solved the problem, or at least are doing cool things. So it's been around about 2 years, I guess, later this year?
The 2 years this June that we've launched Element 14. Okay,
and this is basically backed by Premier Farnell?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so give us a little bit about the background. What were the reasons behind launching this thing, and how's it going so far?
Sure. So Element 14 is the first global community dedicated to the design engineer. And the reason and motivation for that is when our CEO, Harriet Green, took a look at where the design engineering segment was going, it looked like there was a pretty big gap in terms of how people could connect using social media. In particular, the success of things like Facebook and LinkedIn, I think, really screamed out to the fact that there was a great need for people to connect. But they wanted to connect with others like themselves. So we took a look at segmenting the market, building a community that was based on design, and leveraging a lot of the historic strengths that Premier Farnell has brought to the high-service distribution industry. So extremely broad array of suppliers that we work with, excellent access to all the latest technologies, and the ability to bring people together across the globe. We have something like 40 translation languages available on the site right now.
So why is it important to build a social community in your business, in the distribution business?
Well, you know, the engineering organizations across many of the companies we serve have gone through some tough times, just like many other organizations, where it's not always possible for an engineer to go to the next cube and find the answer he's looking for. A lot of engineers now are taking on more responsibility. You know, the guy that was a digital engineer is now doing a power supply. The analog engineer is now doing an embedded application. And we saw a real opportunity to leverage expertise through something like a community where people could reach out, touch experts from the suppliers, or touch people who have been in that same situation as them.
So, okay, so you launched it a couple years ago. Were you the driving force behind it? How did you get involved? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I joined Element 14 from National Semiconductor, so I was director of marketing there. And I spent most of my career working with design engineers through a variety of things, including new product introductions, systems, applications, and analysis. And when I came to Premier Farnell, there was a lot of discussion about the opportunity that was represented by the sort of growth that we've seen in LinkedIn and Facebook. So really, it started with Harriet saying, you know, this is a space we have to play in. This is a space where we think it's going to open up new ways of designing that people aren't even really thinking about today. So she set the organization on that course, and I was as willing and as eager as everybody else to jump on that, because I really do see a lot of opportunity here based on the conversations we're having with engineers.
So you guys are now effectively in the publishing business. We're in the publishing business. We've all sort of grappled with with our particular audience, engineers, you know, what's the right community? You've obviously built a community. We've built a community. You probably have presences on LinkedIn and Facebook. How do you sort of look at that totality and say this is the best sort of combination to reach out to engineers? What's working, what's not? Those are a couple of different questions.
I actually think it's a great question, because I think there are many flavors of community that are going to work for the engineering audience. In particular, what we're looking for is to go beyond the product with engineers. So we've always had a strong capability to present a vast array of data to the engineering audience. You can go to our website, you can find products, you can find the data sheets, you can buy the parts, and you can move on very quickly. But we wanted to take that a step further. So we're looking not just at the products and the communication, but the connections that people make over those products. So things like talking about an embedded platform and doing a review on it. One of our most popular groups right now is called Road Test. And what we do is we offer up to the community an opportunity to evaluate one of our suppliers' product releases, and we ship them that board. They come back, they post their review on the community, and they can share that with all the other members.
So talk to folks about sort of one of the key elements, pardon the pun, of Element 14, which is the Ben Heck Show.
Right.
The Ben Heck Show. Sorry, Ben. Highly entertaining show.
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind that, and how's that going in terms of audience engagement?
Well, the thinking behind it was that we wanted to have fun with the engineering audience. I mean, it's easy to kind of get caught up in the complexity and the depth of technical knowledge that's out there. So we went out and we looked at some of the folks that were sort of independent, innovative, doing some original things in the way they were reaching the engineering audience. And we were lucky to find Ben, who had been doing some work on his own as an independent design engineer. And we talked to him about our vision of the global community and trying to take his message to a broader audience. And it seemed like a great fit. And subsequently, we've been working with him to address sort of that independent do-it-yourselfer who's out there, who can look at a product and say, you know, I can do something to modify that and customize it to my liking, or I can do it to customize it to someone's benefit. In fact, the first episode with Ben, what he does is he takes a Xbox unit and modifies a controller to be used with your foot. So he had an individual that had been in an accident, lost his hand, loved to play Xbox, and Ben walks the audience through it and says, you know, this isn't magic, right? We can open this thing up, we can solder wires together, and we can figure out how these things work, and we make it something different.
Voila.
Yeah, and that was the start of the Ben Heck Show. And we've gone into several different types of episodes. Right now we've got some great fun building around his latest pinball effort. Ben's a very dedicated pinball enthusiast, and he's now got his router up and running and is building multiple machines.
So 2 years into it, talk a little bit about metrics. Are you, I mean, what kind of engagement are you getting, and is it helping support the business, which is, you know,
Sure.
probably a question that your boss asks you all the time, because I know that I get the same kind of questions.
Right. Well, we are in this to make money, and we want to serve our customers in a way that they're willing to pay for. So what is happening with Element 14 is we've seen this last year an accelerated rate of individuals registering on the site. So when we first started, it was all greenfield, and we were exploring some new territories, and we tried a variety of different things, working with our suppliers, contacting different members of the community for their input. And we're taking a lot of that information and developing new capabilities, and we're seeing some great acceptance on that. So one example is we've just launched a capability with a PCB manufacturer where you can come to the site, you can use Premier Farnell's CADSoft Eagle PCB software, and you can upload your files onto the site, and then that information can be automatically transferred to one of our PCB partners. In this case, right now, we're doing some work with a company called Pentalogix, where you can do small volume boards, you can get quotes on higher volume boards, complex boards, pretty much whatever you need.
Okay, so in doing a little research in the run-up to this interview, I came across a word that I've increasingly come across, and it sounded, when I first heard it, like some sort of unsightly growth that you needed laser surgery to get rid of, but it's not, actually. Arduino.
Yeah, Arduino. So this was something that we came to via our participation in the do-it-yourself market. In addition to the Ben Heck Show, we've been a big sponsor of Maker Faire. And matter of fact, we were out in New York last September with Maker, and found that there was a very engaged audience, a very passionate audience around open source development. And I think Arduino has somewhat become synonymous with the concept of open source, although certainly open source is a much bigger concept. So we've kind of dove into that. In our most recent Element 14 journal, I've written an article on open source and the impact that it's having on design. There are a couple companies out there right now that are using open source design philosophies as a cornerstone of their go-to-market strategy. So basically saying, you know, here it is. Here's our board, here's our product, here's our files, and if you really truly wanted to, we would give you everything you need to build this board. But what they're finding is that enough people are looking at it and saying, you know what, I'm willing to pay you for what you've done to bring this information together and to package it in the right fashion. And I like the fact that you're transparent about what's here, and that if you decide to go a different route with your technology, I can still fall back on, you know, the basics of what you built and stick with what I have.
And so you guys are trying to foster this. How?
So one of the ways we're doing it is through our sponsorship of Arduino contests, open source contests, trying to get the message out that there are a number of suppliers who are taking a look at the open source movement and are committing to it. We're also behind and supporting definition of open source that's being driven. So things like there's now the Amicus 18 that's joining that. There's a few other platforms out there that, you know, are where software is available free and you can download the schematics, and pretty much suppliers are seeing there's some benefit to really being open with the people they serve about the technologies they're providing. So there seems to be kind of a synergy there about a couple of the big themes we've talked about today. Mm-hmm. Open source on the one hand, social media, openness, transparency on the other. You talk to some people and they say engineers and social should never be mentioned in the same sentence. Clearly people have never spent any time with engineers, but
it's a different kind of social, right? So
yeah,
give me your perspective there.
So I think one of the biggest misunderstandings about the engineering segment is the connection emotionally that engineers share. That it is just as important to a design engineer to be recognized for his work as it is for anybody else. I think there's also a wide variety of personalities out there. You know, Ben is a classic case of someone who's both entertaining and intelligent about the way he approaches his design. We're now working with a lady named Jerry Ellsworth, who's been doing some videos for an independent design engineer, very entrepreneurial, and you know, she's bringing to light the fact that you can get out there as an engineer, you can connect with people, not just through the circuits you build, but through the entertainment and the perspective on life.
And it seems that a lot of what you're doing, what other people are doing, is through let's say through the Ben Heck Show, or through you know, Todd Sear had a program down at National Instruments for a while, very entertaining. We do a lot of teardowns, so on and so forth. There's an opportunity there, it seems to me, to educate kids and get them involved and sort of fight the nerd dragon that seems to prevent us from generating a larger percentage of people going into college and actually graduating with engineering degrees.
I think it's tremendous in terms of what's out there and educational materials. When we were at Maker Faire, we set up a solder station, and we really didn't know what to expect. So we had used a design that came from a company called Adafruit, where they built a theremin out of a pencil. They call it Drawdio. And it's a really clever little design where you know, we had the end product there at the table. Parents would bring their children, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, that would sit down and concentrate for 30 minutes on building that circuit. You know, we had them soldering in the resistors and the components, and they were truly dedicated to it. And they walked away with this incredible sense of accomplishment, and also, I think, touched on the fact that this isn't mystery, right? I mean, too many kids probably look at an Xbox and say, beyond the plastics, I know nothing. And yet, if they learn to open that up, they can see, here's a hard drive like I'd find in a computer, or here's, you know, a power supply like I'd find in other pieces of electrical equipment.
Very, very cool. So, what are you guys doing here at the show? You're active. The floor opens today. I'm not going to get there for hours. So give me a little peek at what's going on out there with Element 14.
So today we'll be featuring Jerry Ellsworth is going to stop by the booth.
Cool.
She's got a new video that she's posted up on our site. We're really excited about that. We also have some design giveaways. We're going to be giving away a professional edition of CADSoft Eagle.
Okay.
We're, you know, like I said earlier, we're completely dedicated to the design segment and the design engineer, and being here is our way of showing our commitment to that audience.
So if people want to check that out, it's probably www.element1414.com, right?
You got it. Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic. What else can we talk about? You're screwed because you're going to be stuck here in 65-degree weather for the next couple of days.
I just got off 45 minutes of phone calls with American Airlines trying to figure out how I get back to the Midwest.
You're a man with a high tolerance for pain if you fly American Airlines.
I know.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. It's going to be a wild ride.
I'm looking after you, American Airlines. I'm looking out for you. You guys tick me off.
Uh-oh.
So what are you going to do if you get stuck here?
Well, you know, there's so much to do in Silicon Valley if you like technology. Yep. Yesterday I took a tour with Jerry of HSC Electronic Components.
Okay.
And it was like being at a flea market for engineers, right? I mean, they have everything under the sun, and they have some incredibly amazing equipment. So I maybe go back there, check that out a little bit today. I broke a plug on my laptop, and I feel I can fix it.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I had one more question that had to do with Element 14, and it's okay. So you've launched the site. You're 2 years into it. You got a very entertaining, educational, informative show in the Ben Heck Show. What's next? So
one of the things I'm really excited about is finding engineers and helping them develop their own personal brand. So letting an engineer get their name and understanding out there in the marketplace. In the years that I've worked with the engineering segment, I find that there's a lot of really intelligent, dedicated people who often get lost in the overall product image. And trying to find those folks and let them step forward and say, hey, you know, here's who I am, here's the kind of designs I like to do. And then through the community, we can allow people to kind of gravitate into areas of interest. So, you know, maybe there's a group of folks out there that are truly dedicated to doing DC-to-DC power supply design. Well, let's find those folks and help them find their voice and share it with others.
Have you guys won yet an award for Element 14, a web award or anything?
You know what? I don't know off the top of my head. I know we've been receiving substantial recognition across the board. I think when we first launched, there was quite a bit of favorable press saying, you know, this is something that has not been touched by anybody yet and was really welcome.
Well, if it hasn't happened, I'm sure it'll happen. Toot sweet, as we say in New Orleans. So, Jeff Hamilton from Element 14, thanks very much.
Thanks, Brian.
I'll let you go and battle the American Airlines dragon.
Great. Nice talking to you.
So, that's interview number 1 in the bucket. Next up is we're going to tie in a live feed from the rehab center where Charlie Sheen is, because he is a huge electronics fan, especially of high-speed design.